are right now in that time vector. But, sorry, I started to get more of the memory back. I had a lot of Miriam's memory with me when I came in this time, and so did my walkout, Katie. And sequencing them was always fun, like trying to figure out what came first, what came second. You tried to tell by how wrinkly you felt, that kind of thing. Well, I remembered many things about the Jeshua period, right, the Jesus period, but I knew that he had left, and there was a whole bunch of stuff on security clearance about how he had left. He wasn't crucified. We've already gone through that bit. He wasn't crucified at all. He was taken out through the Ark of the Covenant, and he was taken out to Hara. But he was taken out in a very special way, and there was a whole bunch of security clearance information around it. All of that started to flood back when we started to get this information on the Iridanis. And I remember participating in technologies with the Aquafarian, who would come down briefly to visit and help, that had to do with raising something amazing up through and out of the body. These are called the resurrection technologies. These are the technologies that could be used to reset the entire original divine blueprint in the body. They were used on occasions to, get people out when necessary, out through the Ark of the Covenant back in the Jesus period. The last time the technologies were used were with Joshua 12. And John and I were offered the same way out, but John had gone to save somebody over in one of the other soul groups, and he was going to try to do something there, so he split off from us. And when it was time, when the gates could open enough where they could do this with Joshua, he was still busy, and we couldn't find him, and I wouldn't go without him, so we didn't do it with ourselves. But we assisted in Joshua's resurrection. And the resurrection is a fascinating process. It's a process that's very much all about the anatomy that you will learn about. And for the first time in the Tribe 7 class, they did the first resurrection since the last one, which was Joshua's. There was a reason why they couldn't do this for everybody in those days. In fact, because of the mutations on the planet and in the DNA, to even attempt to open what the particular chambers on planet that were necessary in order to have the frequencies to do one of these complete reset of the bioimprint, it would have actually killed the body. There's something in the body called the prana seed. And if the prana seed closes, Bardo initiates. Bardo is the death cycle. And that's the point where the dark matter template and its prana seed separate from the light body and the matter structure. And there's no turning back at that point. That the body is not going to go through an ascension. And in the old days, they couldn't assist us in doing these. They were only done in the most desperate of circumstances, of those who really wanted to get out, and those who had certain types of gene code that would actually allow them to blast through an awful lot of frequency right at that moment, so the prana seed didn't close long enough to get the resurrection done. That's how Jeshua got out. And because he had that particular type of gene code. It was a Navajo code from the second seeding of the Aquafarian races. So we have finally been given the ability to use the resurrection technologies. They could also be used to bring people back from the dead, but that's not recommended, because usually there was a lot of things that used perverted resurrection technologies to bring something else back into a body it didn't belong in and walk it around like a zombie. That is not resurrection technologies. But we have been given back the ability to use natural resurrection technologies, because they are natural. Because of something that's happening in the greater spectrum of things that we're a part of right now, which means our solar system. On the 25th of March, our sun entered its Bardo cycle. Its prana seed closed, which means this is no longer an ascension-able solar system. It means it has a certain type of destiny to look forward to, and that destiny will be much sooner than science thinks it might be, as far as how much hydrogen fuel is left before stars die and those kind of things. What they don't understand is that during a Bardo cycle, much of the hydrogen fuel begins to burn off very quickly. But it's not an immediate emergency, as far as, like, sun's not going to explode tomorrow and we all have got to get out of here, this is our 3-hour warning. No, it's not that either. We have about 223 years left before you can't get out of this solar system, before you can't evolve out. And we are working an ascension program. It is a hosted ascension program being assisted by various ones that, once you see the vertical maps, you'll know where Eartha is and understand who those people are a bit more. But we are in the process now of getting back the technologies that will allow our bodies to heal fast enough to make the changes. They are resurrection technologies, and the reason we can use them now without worrying about our prana seed closing is because certain chambers have been opened. One of them is called the Salakali chamber, have been opened here in this solar system because of the Bardo. If it weren't for the fact that Sun entered Bardo, those chambers could not have been opened by even the most trying to be helpful Krista graces from other places, because it would have been too much frequency and it would have imploded the system. But these chambers open as a natural part of a Bardo, and because the solar system has entered Bardo, we have the protection and the frequency amplification of those frequencies of the Salakali chamber and a couple of other chambers that once we get into the spirit body anatomy, you'll see what they are. It's because of that that we can use the technologies that are called raising the iridanus. That's the first part of them. Then there's embodying the iridanus, which is a very particular part of your spiritual body anatomy that will allow you very rapid regenesis and reset of the original pattern, the original angelic human or indigo or aquafarian, whatever your own organic template is. It would reset it by literally bringing the spirit body in, and the spirit body always holds the imprint. Our spirit body is in the same place as we are, but at a different angular rotation of particle spin, and it's actually faced in a different, what's called event horizon. We'll see how the spirit body and the material body, the one that becomes material, how they interact with each other and how they form, where one is facing one event horizon and one is facing another, which are literally different time probabilities, and how the process of evolution is about bringing those two back into full integration, where you reach a state that is called the Hare Krista state, that allows for you to pull out of both and go back into what's called the Adashi turnaround ascension cycles. So there's a whole set of anatomy that we will cover. It's relatively quick. I'm probably going to try the easy way instead of going through really, really slow, and with some of the things that we've learned about Rasha body and those kind of things. I will try to give a consolidated program so you see enough of it and get to the new anatomy parts, because they're the new anatomy parts that have to do with the spirit body, past the Eye of God structures, past the Heart of God structures that we just began to learn about. What's after that? We end up with something called the Illuminata. The Illuminata 12-cell cluster, and this has something directly to do with being able to raise and naturally embody your iridanus. It has something to do with what's supposed to happen when an egg and sperm come together here, and what is created at that point. Because literally from the eternal field, the eternal singularity of the consciousness field of Source, a new distinction becomes right there, and a new creation cycle is set in motion. There's a very specific set of things that are supposed to happen when egg and sperm come together to create a new baby body, to create a new fetus. And there's a certain point where the spirit body